Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for the Tech Guy is provided by Cachefly. CACHEFLY.com. Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is the Tech Guy podcast. No 2 episodes today. We're going to cut down just the Saturday episode 723, because the Sunday show was a rerun. I was off to Paris for Le Web. Enjoy. Well, hey, how are you today? Good to see you. Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. And it's time to talk about computers, cell phones, and camcorders, and MP3 players, and home theater, and all the gadgets and gizmos that make our lives so very interesting. Would you like to join the conversation? I'd love to have you. Phone number 8888-ASK-LEO. That's all you have to do. Just call that number, and we can talk about tech. Well, it's been an interesting week for net neutrality. We'll talk a little bit about that briefly, because it's a little confusing. It's a little complicated. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. But even I find this a little bit opaque. So it goes back to Netflix. Netflix, of course, uses a lot of bandwidth. I saw a stat the other day. Something like a third of all the bandwidth in prime time is Netflix streaming movies. Do you do that? You know, where you have you can do it on a computer, but now they can also do it on PlayStation 3, on Sony's PlayStation 3. You can do it on the Wii. You can do it on Xbox 360. You can do it. There's also a lot of devices like the Roku box. And even nowadays, a lot of TVs and Blu-ray players have that built in as well. And I guess a lot of people, in fact, Netflix changed their pricing structure recently to encourage you to do streaming. A lot of people are starting to say, I don't need a disc anymore. Netflix is that, you disc DVD by mail service. They increased the cost of DVD by mail to a buck more a month, but then they offered a $7.99 streaming-only subscription. Now, it should be cheaper because it's not as good as the disc, neither in quality nor in selection. And not all the movies they have on disc are available on streaming. But they like it because, well, the movie companies want them to do it. And the movie companies are using all sorts of clever ways to pressure Netflix into moving from a disc-based model to a streaming model. Why do the movie companies like it? Well, because it's harder to pirate a stream. In fact, really most people wouldn't know how to do that. Easy to pirate a disc or copy a disc. In fact, I think a lot of people rent a disc on Netflix, make a copy of it onto their hard drive, send the disc back, and now they've got the movie, right? Movie company knows that. So they say, let's go streaming. And we don't have to worry about piracy. Of course, there's no physical media to send back, so it saves Netflix money. They pay the postage, on these. They don't have to buy the media in the first place. And the movie companies have put pressure on the company, on Netflix, by limiting the number of discs they can get of popular movies, by making deals saying you can't have the movie until a month after it comes out on DVD, things like that. They're really putting a squeeze on Netflix. So for $7.99, you get a Netflix subscription. You can stream any movie if you have the appropriate hardware, connecting your TV to the internet. And people are doing it. Lots of bandwidth. Tons of bandwidth. Netflix used to ride on a content delivery network, or CDN. That's what they call them, CDNs, called Akamai. Apple uses Akamai for iTunes. Very popular. Everybody uses Akamai. But it's expensive. It's really expensive for the company. For Netflix, they have to pay for it. So a company called Level 3 Communications came along. They're really kind of not a CDN. They're a little different. I mean, they might beg to differ there, but a lot of people consider them really more of an internet service provider. They say they're a leading international provider of fiber-based communication services. Whatever. They're the bandwidth provider. I mean, if you think about it, Netflix has to have a big, fat pipe coming into their building where they have all this streaming. I don't know how they... that'd be really interesting to find out how they do it. Do they have just a bunch of computers with movies on them? They must. And imagine the size of the pipe, the bandwidth coming into that space. That's why they used Akamai originally, because Akamai would have a content delivery network typically has servers all over the place. And each server kind of keeps copies of the movies people want, and you get it from a local server. It's faster for you, and it's a more efficient way to distribute this. Level 3, and by the way, one of the things Akamai was doing for Comcast, which is the biggest internet service provider in the United States, was delivering the movie close to the subscriber. So they get it right to the kind of the Comcast head end, right there from Akamai. And that's kind of how Akamai works. If you live in Atlanta, there's a server in Georgia for people who live in Georgia, and in effect, Comcast would get that bandwidth, that data from the Georgia server, and then give it to you. So it saved Comcast traffic on its overall backbone. When Netflix saved money by going to level 3, level 3 changed how this works. According to Comcast, level 3 said, well, we're not going to, Comcast, we're not going to, you can come get it. You can come fetch the movie at our head end and transport it over your network to the subscriber. And that's where Comcast said, wait a minute. We want to make you pay for that. Because Akamai used to give us the data right there. And now you're saying we'll give you the data way over in Los Angeles, and it's up to us, Comcast, to transport it from Los Angeles to Georgia, and then from Georgia to our customer. Well, that's extra. That extra Los Angeles to Georgia link, that's costing us money. We want to charge you. Level 3 went, whoa! Comcast putting up toll roads on the information superhighway. Those backbones, that's public property, and they shouldn't be charging us extra. And they said, we don't have any choice because if we said no, Netflix might not be too happy. So level 3's paying it, but they made a big stink about it. And they said, this is a net neutrality issue. And this is why it's complicated. Well, who's right here? The way I just described it, which is how Comcast describes it, it kind of makes sense that Comcast would want some more money out of that. They're costing them more. But really, the internet is designed to do exactly that. It's designed to take data. If you listen to this radio show over the internet, and I know a lot of you do, or you watch the video that we stream from my studio, we don't get that data right next to you and then let your internet service provider pick it up. Your internet service provider comes and gets it. That's how the internet works. I can't afford to have a server everywhere you are. So, maybe Netflix can. Of course, I don't send as much bandwidth as Netflix, do I? But in aggregate, there are a lot of little people like us, a lot of little radio stations and radio shows and TV shows broadcasting on the internet. And in aggregate, we're using more than Netflix. So here's the other side of the story. Is Comcast going to come to me and say, Leo, if you want our subscribers to watch your show or listen to your radio show over the internet, you're going to have to pay us extra because we have to carry your show all the way across the country to Atlanta. Oh, yeah. See, when you put it that way, isn't that what they do? That's what an internet service provider does. They have big connections, big backbones. They pay lots of money to Sprint and other companies that own the internet backbones across the country for that carriage. But that's what I'm paying Comcast for as an end user. That's why I pay. What do you pay? $40, $50 a month for your internet access? Well, that's what you're paying for. Deliver me the bits from wherever they come, whether it's Atlanta, Los Angeles, or Belarus. Those bits are all equal. They're all out there in the internet cloud. And are you telling me I should pay more for bits that come from farther away? Does that make sense? Oh, now it's a little complicated, isn't it? Well, who's right here? I don't know. I could, level 3 kind of changed the game. Comcast had it good because Akamai was like a bread delivery truck that'd come right to your door. They had a milkman. They're mad because they don't have the milkman anymore. You mean I got to go to the grocery store and get the milk? You're not going to deliver it to my doorstep? I'm going to charge you extra for that milk. What if you did that? What if we said, I have to pay. I have to go drive and get that milk. I'm gonna take 5 cents off the cost of that milk, grocer, because you didn't deliver it to me. You didn't bring it to my doorstep. I'm gonna take a nickel off because I had to go get it. That's basically what Comcast is saying. I have to go get these bits. Well, I'm gonna charge you for that. Now here's the real problem, and this is really where it comes down to brass tacks. If there were competition for your internet dollar as an end user, if you had several choices, equal choices, then level 3 could have said to Comcast, sorry, we're not going to pay you. Comcast loses Netflix. Comcast loses you as a customer, right? That's what we need, some competition. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I saw one of the best concerts I think it was the best concert I've ever seen. Amazing. Last night in Oakland, Roger Waters of Pink Floyd fame, he wrote The Wall, the Pink Floyd album The Wall. 30 years ago, they performed it famously on the Berlin Wall in 82, 83, maybe 84. Or no, I guess that was 10 years later in 91. But went to see it, and just an amazing show. I know a lot of my friends saw it in L.A. at the Staples Center, and he's going on. He'll be in San Jose and in Seattle and so forth. But the technology in this show, just mind-boggling. You know, compared to how they did it when they did it first, when Pink Floyd did it first in the 80s, just remarkable. Massive projectors. I think they had 30 projectors across. You know, spoiler alert. There's a wall involved in this. They build a wall during the concert, and they project on the wall, and they had very high-power projectors. Apparently, 30 of them arrayed in 10 rows horizontally, and 3 per zone to make them bright enough. Because of course you're a big arena, giant inflated audio animatronic puppets that are moving automatically. The sound was surround sound. I mean, it was all around you, and they actually moved some of the sound out over the audience. A remote-controlled pig blimp floats out over the stage. It's just, it's amazing what concert technology has done. Just amazing. If you get a chance to see it, highly recommend it. Very expensive ticket because it's a very expensive production, as you might imagine. Line 1, Yvonne, first on the show from La Mirada, California. Hi, Yvonne. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo. How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I've got a couple questions for you.
Yes.
I deliver a presentation class in my workplace where each participant is recorded 3 times, delivering 3 to 5 minute presentation.
Well, that's neat. It's kind of like Toastmasters for your work.
Yeah. Actually, I'm a trainer in my workplace.
How neat.
So currently, I love it. Currently, I'm using a Canon camcorder with a mini DVD player. After each presentation, I must finalize the DVD in order for the participant to view the DVD on a portable player.
Right.
As a result, I'm using 3 DVDs for every participant, and also time-consuming.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, if this is feasible, to use an SD card camcorder.
Yes.
I could then have the participant take the card and view the video on like an iPad or a similar device.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Do they want to keep the video, or is it just for the class that they need the video?
Well, we need the participant to be able to view the video.
You understand, but do they want to take it home afterwards?
Well, that's the goal.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, in other words, the reason I ask is they need a copy.
Yes. Yes.
And DVD's nice because everybody has a DVD player pretty much, and they can take it home and use it. Your alternative is to record it digitally onto, as you mentioned, onto memory, and give them a file. And you can make that file so they can play it on their computer. You could have iPads if you want, but I mean, you could just give them you might give each participant a USB key with their 3 videos on it.
Okay.
They're pretty cheap, and it's sure save you a lot of time.
Yeah, it's very time-consuming right now.
Yeah. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, most of the camcorders now record onto some sort of solid-state memory. Sometimes some of them have hard drives in them. The JVC Varios have sometimes hard drives as well as flash memory. The key on this for you is you're going to have software that can read the format on these cards and edit it easily. What are you using right now?
Well, these are just standard corporate PCs, so I really don't do any editing.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, you record a DVD and you just give it to them. You probably don't do anything at all.
Right.
Yeah, it never touches a computer.
No.
So what you're proposing is going to require a computer. You might want your own computer to do this, or a laptop, or something fast enough. If you're using Windows Movie Maker will read these files. They're recorded almost always in a format called AVC HD. AVC HD. And in order for you to read it in and edit it, you really want a program that can handle it. Windows Movie Maker's free, comes with, from Windows Live, get.live.com. And if you have Windows 7 or Vista, you'll have no problem running it. If you don't record in super high, you might have to lower the quality if your PC isn't super powerful.
Okay.
Don't record in high def then, or record, but that's fine. The DVDs you're making weren't very high quality. It's just their head, or their torso. So quality. I mean, we're not making
Hollywood movies.
Dr. Zhivago here. Yeah.
No.
So you'll find as you do it, you might, you play with the parameters and record it the best quality that you can live with, but the lowest quality so that you can edit it fast, and the files are small.
Okay.
How long are the speeches? 5 minutes?
Yeah, they're anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes each.
So 3 5-minute clips you could fit on, a pretty small USB drive. Probably the smallest you could find would be probably 512 megabytes or a gigabyte, and it would fit on that easily.
Okay.
You can get an hour on probably the smallest one you could find. So that means, $20. It's going to be cheaper, and it's going to be a lot faster for you, because basically you'll shoot the video, you'll take that card out, you'll plug it into the computer. You want a computer that can read an SD card, has Windows Movie Maker. If it's a little bit better quality, be Premiere Elements. That's $80 from Adobe. Max iMovie does it just fine. Read it in. Chop off the beginning and the end. You could put titles. You can make it fancy if you want, and then put it on a little USB stick. I think that'd be the most efficient way to do it. Okay,
great. I have one other question if you have a moment.
Yes.
I have 14 voice messages on my cell phone, which I really want to keep indefinitely. What is the most reliable means of saving these messages?
Yeah, I get this question a lot, and they're actually, let me see if they're still around. There were a number of services that would allow you to just copy your cell phone messages onto this service, and then have you email the WAV file. Let me see if I can find these. A lot of these were .com casualties. Let me see who's still in business. Yeah, these all look like new ones, to be honest with you. There's one called soundfeelings.com. Let me see. I'm just going to look around. But, you could, of course, hold the phone up to a microphone, but it's a lot easier if you can export existing messages over. And I'm just looking. I'll probably have to do some research, because I don't know if any of these programs are. What kind of phone do you have?
I just have the Verizon.
Just a standard feature phone?
Yes, it's just a very basic phone.
Yeah. Most of these companies that were around, and I notice a lot of them are gone as I look, would tie into your Verizon voicemail. You'd actually replace your Verizon voicemail with this company, and in the process, one of the things it would do is make all your voicemails accessible. Tell you what, we're going to take a break. I'm going to look. Worst case, you could just plug a little plug into your headphone jack and record it that way. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Chris, Charlotte, North Carolina. You're next. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Chris.
Hey, Leo. How are you?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. Thanks. What can I do for you?
I've been watching some netcasts on TWiT and Revision 3 for a while now, and you guys have kind of motivated to get into it a little bit myself.
You want to do it? Oh, see, that's great. That's wonderful. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
Nice. A couple of questions. We're kind of looking at a format similar to This Week in Tech, where people are going to probably be in different locations.
Right.
So we're going to probably need to use Skype or something else for video conferencing. But I'm looking into equipment and just trying to figure out, do you have any suggestions on, good cameras, microphones? Or,
I've just spent the last 5 years of my life doing in-the-field research on how to do this stuff. And boy, did I say 5 years? I also should say a couple of $1 million. You don't have to spend a couple of $1 million. In fact, you could benefit from all the money I've spent. Make it easy for yourself. What is your subject?
Well, probably going to be tech.
Great.
I've been in the IT world for about 15 years.
This is the neat thing about, and you call it netcasting. I think that's the right term. It was podcasting, but I think that's a terrible term, because it implies an audio program that you download and put on an iPod, and that isn't by any means what we're limited to anymore. Basically, it's internet broadcasting. It's a show on the internet, and it could be audio, could be video, could be both. You could put it on your iPod, but you can watch this, and many of our viewers watch it live on the internet on a web browser, or on their phone via. There's many TWiT applications. TWiT's my network. Where's that coming from? Unplug that. I'm hearing myself. His iPad is starting to play back. So here's the deal on that. You said you want to do video. It gets very complicated, very expensive, very quickly if you want to do video. Are you set? Is your heart set on that? Because what I would suggest is do what I did, which is start with audio and work your way up.
Okay. No, I mean, our heart's not set on that. And just since we were going to be in different spots, I thought it would be.
Yeah. So what we did, get ready. We built something Colleen, my chief of engineering, former chief of engineering, she's now at Google. I like to think she's at Google because of the great job she did here. Built something she called Skypeosaurus. Skype now will let you do multiple people, video conferences. At the time, we could only do one at a time, so we built a machine that was 4 computers, 4 screens, but made to look as one, and we could then have 4 calls with video going on. And in some ways, that's still the best way to do it because you can separate each channel, each picture is different, but Skype does now allow you to do video conference calling. It takes a lot of bandwidth. Have you tried it?
We haven't tried it with multiple people. I mean, I've used Skype.
Yeah, Skype one-on-one is a miracle, and that's what we do, essentially, is every time I have a contributor on the show, we call them via Skype, and we get a beautiful picture from them. They usually, most people now have cameras on their laptops. That's more than adequate for this. I do recommend, whether you're doing audio or video, good audio is so important. I do recommend going out and having everybody spend $30 or $40, that's all, on a USB headset. The Plantronics Audio 655 is the one we use right now. It's about $30 or $40. It's USB, not analog. That's really important.
Right. Because
you want it to be USB into the computer, because computers tend to make noisy connections. My experience is much easier. The Plantronics it's a headset. It's designed for Skype calls. It has a little microphone and good earphones. It's very comfortable. They can wear it for, some of our shows are 2 hours long. They can wear it for 2 hours and not feel discomfited. It has a real advantage for non-professionals. One of the tricky things when you're doing radio, and really this is radio with pictures, is keeping your guests on microphone. But the headset mic moves around with them as their head moves around, because people like to look around when they're talking. That doesn't work. Radio people are used to talking into the microphone. I mean, but your hosts are not pros, so it's good to have a headset. So I would say give them a headset mic. Let them use their laptop with the camera. That's adequate. If you want to step up the quality of the camera, we've found that the Logitech QuickCam C510, which is for $60, is amazing.
Okay.
Really good, even in low light. More light's better, so get them to turn on the lights. We do a lot of, when we have a guest on, we do a lot of pre-fine-tuning. We'll say, when I had Steve Martin on last week, I said, okay, now aim down, so we want your head at the top of the frame, not in the middle of the frame. You want to make sure you don't have a light behind you. This guy's made many movies, so I think he knew enough not to have a window behind him. You want to have the light shining on your face, not behind you. You'd like a simple background, and you'd like no motion in the background, because Skype is doing a lot of work to compress that video. The more motion there is, the worse it'll look.
Right.
And you want them to kind of hold still and shoot themselves kind of chest up. Again, less motion is better. If it's a static head and the only thing that's moving is the mouth, Skype's going to do a great job.
Now, what about software? I mean, I've kind of found the software called VidBlaster.
VidBlaster's fantastic. Highly recommended.
Okay, excellent.
Another good one is Wirecast.
Wirecast, excellent.
These are great programs that basically turn your computer into a television switcher, like a real TV production uses. The truth is, this is what's exciting about this. You can do 90% of what they do on, say, Meet the Press with off-the-shelf hardware. You have free distribution over the internet using YouTube or Ustream. We use Ustream for the live stuff, or BitGravity, or Justin.tv we use for the live stuff. All of these are free. So, you've got free distribution, very inexpensive gear to make this happen. You could do a network television show for nothing, and that's what's very exciting about this. Hey, Chris, good luck. Call me back when you're going. We'll give you a plug. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dennis, Santa Monica, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Dennis.
Hey, Leo. Thanks for your help today, and also thanks for your suggestions on Christmas gifts.
Oh, I'll have lots more over the next few weeks. You're welcome.
Cool.
But those are actually, I just gave you my the top 5. I probably should have stretched that out a little bit.
Well, it's good stuff. I'm the guy who called before working on my backup plan. I have the 2 IBM ThinkPad laptops, and I'm switching between the 2. Well, you recommended SyncToy as one solution.
Free Microsoft program. It's it does a very good job of synchronizing 2 drives.
And the only downside is you can't schedule it, but that works okay for me because I'm not going to. I have to do it manually anyway with 2 laptops.
Well, you know, the funny thing about SyncToy is it doesn't have scheduling built in, which is definitely a missing feature. But you can use the Windows scheduler to schedule it. So you can schedule, and that's if you read the limited instructions, they'll say, "Yeah, here's how you do it." But Windows scheduler is the worst. I can't believe Microsoft hasn't improved it over the last 5 versions of Windows, but it's pretty much the same as came out with Windows 3.1. But you can use it, and what you'll do is you'll schedule the launch of SyncToy and the running of SyncToy, and you can schedule it just as you would anything else. If you want something that has schedules built in, I really like Second Copy by Centered Systems. Very similar.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not big on scheduling, but
that's right. You said you don't need it, but for people who want a task scheduler built into Windows, we'll do it.
Okay. Oh, let me get to my question here.
Sure.
I discovered that I like to type a lot, and the faster I type, the more mistakes I make.
Yeah.
So I really like, in Word 2003, this tool called autocorrect, and I discovered I've created a large autocorrect library of words, and then the issue comes up, well, if I'm going to sync it with my other laptop, then how do I migrate the settings? So I checked the Microsoft knowledge base, support knowledge base, and there's actually a document on that for both Word 2003 and Word 2007, but it looks long and involved, and I'm thinking maybe there's an easier solution as an integrated backup solution, synchronizing solution, and so I thought I'd call you about it and see if there is.
Yeah, really all you're going to do is back up the autocorrect library, which is a dictionary. And if you search for files, I think that it's the only thing I know of with a extension .acl for autocorrect library. So basically back that up.
I can't just use SyncToy.
Yeah, you can. Just tell SyncToy back this up. But you have to find it first.
Okay, so I just have to find it, and well, way cool.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it's stored. It could be in various places. Let me see if I can find on the internet a magic place that they store it. I imagine it's stored in a variety of places. But do a search on your hard drive for .acl. That'll be your autocorrect library, and wherever that is, you just tell SyncToy, keep this synced. That's the idea, and synchronization is a very useful tool for backup. I actually set it up this morning. I'm going away on a long trip, 5 days in France. And I thought, I really ought to back up everything before I go. And I'll tell you what I did when we come back, because it's time for a break. 8888 Ask Leo, that's the number. I am Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my number. Dennis is in Santa Monica, California. Hi, Dennis. Oh, wait a minute. We were talking to Dennis before about autocorrect. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, go ahead.
I saw a suggestion online from geeks.com that I should be using, well, besides backing up to an external hard disk drive, they also suggested partitioning your hard drive for your laptop, putting the operating system on one partition and your apps and data on another. Do you suggest that, and how should I go about doing that?
It's too late once you put stuff on the drive. Partitioning erases everything on the drive unless you use a non-destructive partitioner. And it's not it's a finesse. It's not such an important thing to do that I would run out and buy software to do it. When I set up a computer, I almost always do that. And on any operating system, separate data from the operating system. And if you think about it, it's just easy. It's an easy way to protect your data so that if, for instance, you have a problem with a system and you maybe you get a virus on it, you want to reinstall Windows, you can wipe the drive, reinstall Windows, and your data is intact because it's on a separate drive. It's a same physical hard drive, but a separate partition on that drive. So it looks like a different drive. So I usually have a C drive where Windows and applications live, and a D drive where I put the data. On Linux and Mac, I do the same thing. I keep them on separate drives. That way you can wipe and reinstall the operating system on the C drive and not touch the D drive. It also makes it easy to back up. You just back up everything on the D drive. You do have to change Windows a little bit to make this work. For instance, you have to change where your documents go and settings and all of that stuff. And you can do that pretty easily if you right-click on your My Documents folder and select Properties. You can change on any modern version of Windows. You can change the location. So you point to your D drive and say, store everything there. I think that's a good idea on most operating systems. You really want to get fancy, and again, this is a finesse. But when I set up a new system, I generally will do this. I have a third drive. It's actually the first partition I make. It's a small partition just for the page file or the swap file. That way the swap file isn't anywhere, near my data. It doesn't fragment the drive. And you might even want to set up a temp partition for temp files. And this kind of slows down fragmentation. It kind of isolates temp files and swap files, which you don't want to back up anyway. So if you really want to get fancy, you partition the drive with an S, partition first. The reason you put it first is that's the fastest part of the hard drive. It doesn't need to be big. Typically, twice the size of RAM is sufficient. If you have 4 gigs of RAM, make it 8 gigs. Make a gigabyte temp file partition, or you could even make it bigger. Now drives are so big, it's no big deal to take 4 gigs for temp files. Then make your C partition for Windows and your D partition for data. It's a finesse. It's not going to make a huge difference. I think the biggest difference is that your data is separate from your operating system and apps. So if you have to reinstall, you don't have to worry about your data. That's the big difference. Sam is in Cardiff, Wales. Hey, Sam, Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hi, Leo.
Welcome to the show. What can I do for you?
I phoned a few weeks back asking about the Android recommendation.
Yeah. Did you buy?
And I got a Samsung Galaxy S in the end.
Good choice. Very nice phone. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it. It's brilliant. I love Android. But there's a problem. I'm following Samsung on Twitter, and they've said that Froyo 2.2 will be rolled out through November, and every phone should be offered it by the end of November.
Yeah, and it still isn't?
And I go to Samsung Keys, which is like the iTunes, like the multimedia management center for it. And basically, it says that this device's firmware cannot be upgraded.
So they're not going to update it?
They're just not offering an upgrade for me.
That's your carrier, because of course that phone can absolutely be upgraded, and you do want 2.2. 2.2 is really the most recent version of Android. In fact, 2.3 is supposed to come out pretty soon. That's gingerbread. They name them after desserts. So the current version of Android, the Android operating system, is Froyo, after frozen yogurt, and it's 2.2, and you really do want that. You have 2.1, which I think was Eclair. It's alphabetical, so it would be E for Eclair. So you really, it's not bad, but Froyo is much faster, and it's certainly tastier. No, it's not. It's faster, though. I think if you go out and Google Samsung Galaxy S, you will note there are many people out there who are making versions of 2.2 for your phone. It's your carrier that's decided not to do that, by the way, not Samsung. Whoever your carrier is, for some reason, has decided not to update. That's a mistake. Here's why this happens, and people have complained about this. Oh, the fragmentation in the Android market. Well, it's something that goes with the way Android is set up. Google created Android. Actually, it existed. Google basically brought it on, and created something called the Open Handset Alliance, which a number of manufacturers are members of, including Samsung, Motorola, HTC. And they opened it. They made it open source, which means anybody can download the source code and build it into their phone at no cost to them. Google, on top of that, does some Google applications, like, say, Google Maps, Google Mail. All of that is proprietary, owned by Google. But the base operating system is not and can be modified by anybody. Google's slow to release the most recent version, though. They only recently, about 3 months ago, released the source code for 2.2. So this is why a lot of handset manufacturers only now are putting out 2.2 on their Android handsets. First, Google had to release the source code. Then they had to adapt it for their phone, particularly for the specialized software that they put on it, and then test it. And once it was safely tested, they put it out. So most phone handsets now are 2.2. There's been enough time elapsed that they could do that. When Google puts out 2.3, only the Google phones will get it initially. And then once they put out the source code, the other manufacturers will modify it, test it, and put it out on their handsets. So there's always this lag. The big jump, though, was 2.1 to 2.2. You really do want 2.2. They've made some major speed and reliability improvements, and 2.2 really makes a big difference. In fact, if you're going to buy an Android device, at this point, I'd say don't buy it unless it has 2.2 on it. And you want some assurances from the either the wireless company or the manufacturer that they plan to go to 2.3, to Gingerbread. The next version, H, is Honeycomb. That'll be 3.0, and we don't know when that's going to come out. That's the one Google says really should be on tablets. So I know all of this is confusing, and nobody really worries about this stuff on other phones. Oh, do I have the latest version? But the truth is, this is kind of a side effect of being so open. Because it's open, because anybody can do it. There's differences in the timing for different companies and different handsets. That's just kind of, unfortunately, a side effect of being open. If you tightly control it, like Apple does, well, there's only one company that makes the phone, and there's only one version of the operating system, and that's that. It's consistent. It's simpler for the buyer, and for many people, they prefer that. But there's no choice. On the Android side, there's many, many, many manufacturers, many different form factors, many different kinds of hardware. It's interesting. Microsoft has kind of the best of both worlds with their Windows Phone 7. They said the hardware has to be this, but they have a number of manufacturers. So you do have a choice between physical keyboards and on-screen keyboards. They all have the same processor, different amounts of memory, all the same camera. And there's one version of Windows Phone 7. So Microsoft, I think, looked at Android and said, we could do this better. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 88 to ask. Leo John is in Los Angeles, California, listening to the great KFI, our mothership. Hello, John.
Hello, Leo. I have a question for you about getting my internet access wirelessly. And I'm thinking that there might be some hidden bandwidth caps that I should be aware of. Do you know of?
Yeah. As far as I know, all of the carriers offer unlimited bandwidth as long as it's less than 5 gigabytes.
Right.
Now, I don't cell phone companies, I don't know how they get away with this stuff. They charge you for quitting. What if a dry cleaner said, if you said, I'm going to go to the dry cleaner across the street, oh, that'll be $175. What? Early termination fee, dude. No, I just want to, but no. And this is even after you've paid for your handset. I understand they need to recoup the cost of the subsidized handset, but long after that, they're still, change your account, no problem, I got another 2 years. And this is one of the really bizarre things. Unlimited is not unlimited. I guess maybe the theory is, well, nobody would ever use 5 gigabytes in a month. So, in effect, it's unlimited. Except that, yes, we do! We nerds use a lot. PC Magazine just reviewed the new Verizon LTE, which is coming out in 38 cities by the end of the year. This is their new high-speed 4th-generation wireless. And the reviewer pointed out that you can go over the 5 gig cap in half an hour.
Oh.
So these caps don't make a lot of sense. I do understand that the data from a cell phone is very different than data from your cable modem or your DSL provider. They have to get the data out to that cell phone tower. Every tower has to have its own head end. The bandwidth is shared among as many people as on the tower. So it's not the same. There are real constraints there. Most of the providers now offer, something like $15 for 250 megabytes. So if you're really a light user, that's enough. $25 for 2 gigabytes. And some of them still offer, you know, the $60 a month for 5 gigabyte unlimited.
Huh. Okay. Well, 5 gigabyte, I have a problem in my head figuring out how much I'm using.
How do we know? Most phones have a usage, you know, will tell you how much data you've used. So if you've been using a smartphone for a while, it's easy because you just look at that.
Right.
But if you're brand new to this, you don't know. I would say you can do some math. Email and web pages really aren't going to add up to much. In order to get to the 2 gigs or 5 gigs, you've got to stream video.
Right.
Or download big, I almost said a bad word, big files. And I don't, you know, most people are not going to, in fact, use that much. In fact, what the companies, I think it was, I can't remember which one it was, but said that like 99% of their users never get anywhere near 5 gigabytes.
Right. So, and the things I'm talking about are they, what do they call them, a wireless hotspot or a thing where you have five computers hooked up to it?
Then you might, you know, if you start doing that. If you're using it, and this is, I think, what the whole thing is about. They really don't want you to make it your main internet connection. If you're using it as your main internet connection, you could conceivably go through 5 gigabytes.
Right. Yeah. Well, I got the idea because they put a cell site 2 blocks from my house just recently. I thought, oh, well, maybe that'll be a real good, clean
It should
connection.
be. Because you're close to it. So that's one of the factors in speed. Also, how many people are using it. So if your neighbors are all using it, then it wouldn't get great speed.
Right.
If you, for instance, stream my video, Bamalam's pointing this out in the chat rooms, and watch this show, if you watch it for 5 hours, you're done. So it's not hard to go through 5 gigs. I don't think that, and I think this is their intent, it's a good idea to use it as your main internet service provider.
Right.
Now, there are deals out there. For instance, Virgin Mobile, I should say, offers a very inexpensive 3G card, like this card you're talking about. They call them a MiFi. It basically uses 3G bandwidth for a wireless access point. And theirs is $40 a month. And they say unlimited. And I think in some cases when Sprint says unlimited, they're the last ones that still offered kind of really unlimited. I don't know if they have still, maybe the chat room knows. Do you know offhand if Virgin Mobile in the U.S., when they say unlimited, it's unlimited? Because that would be awesome. Yeah. And the other thing is that they don't necessarily do the accounting perfectly. So sometimes you can get away with it. I have, in the past, done more than 5 gigabytes without getting paid.
Yeah.
Or having to pay. Now, Sprint does offer on the 4G network unlimited right now, but that's kind of promotional. And most people do. You know, you don't have 4G where you live. Most people don't.
Right. Right. Well, that answers a lot of questions. Can I switch and give you another question? I was watching your netcast, and you showed a panorama that you shot with your iPhone. Is that right?
Yeah.
What app does that?
It's brand new. It takes a little playing with. It's from a company called Occipital, and it's called 360. And 360, maybe a 360 view. So what you do with it, it's really kind of remarkable. What you do with it is you hold your camera up. It'll give you a wireframe. You can actually do not only a 360-degree panorama. You can shoot high and low. You can do a whole sphere around you. But it's a little interesting. The way you do it is it gives you this kind of wireframe, and you slowly pan around. But you have to be very careful. It doesn't stitch exactly. It's a little bit of a weird app, and I found that I had to play with it quite a bit before I got good results. The other problem with it is no one can see it. When you save it to your iPhone photos, it's just a flat 2D panorama. But if you upload it to the Occipital servers, and if you go to my Twitter account, twitter.com/Leo Laporte, you'll see the 360 pano I made from last night's concert. You have to actually go to the Occipital site where they have a 360 viewer. But it's pretty amazing. It's a fun app to have. I think it was a couple of bucks, $3 maybe.
Right. So do you know if there's a way, like if you want to put it on your own website, is there a way to embed it or just put
I don't know. You know, usually when you see these 360 panos, it's done in QuickTime. I would have to go to that's a good question. You know what? I'll go to their site and see if I can find out. It probably says something at the Occipital site about how you could embed this.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if you don't embed it, all people get is a very static kind of traditional panorama.
Right. It's a lot more exciting when it's full screen and
it's awesome, isn't it?
Correction and as the thing spins around.
Yeah, I really, I just had a lot of fun with it. Especially for an event like that. Now, one of the reasons I downloaded it and I've been playing with it is I'm going to Paris tomorrow, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to take some pictures of the City of Lights at Christmas time, maybe the Champs-Élysées.
I look forward to seeing it, Leo.
Hey, thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a neat app. Let me look at this website. 360 Panorama is the name of it from Occipital, and see if they have a player. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, just posted on my Twitter account a panorama of the studio. Just to give you an idea, you can see Mark and Andrew in there sitting in the studio. So if you go to my Twitter account, you'll see there are two links. There's one to a TWiT pic, which is just basically a static 2D version of it, and then the 360-degree panorama at occipital.com. I think it's kind of fun. The application's on sale right now for 99 cents. You see, there's some stitching problems. Stitching is how this works, where you take a bunch of pictures and you put them together into one large picture, and you can see in a few places there's just some little stitch errors here and there. But it does a fairly good job. Now, the key when you're taking panoramas, this is a good thing to know, is that you don't want to rotate. You want the camera to rotate. Every lens, every camera, every phone has an axis that it needs to rotate around for a perfect panorama. Many cameras, especially high-end cameras, will actually have a mark on the camera, a little red mark that shows where the pivot point is on that camera, because a lot of pros like to do panoramas. On a camera phone, of course, there's nothing like that. But just pretend you've got a pole going up through the middle of the phone and rotate the phone around that. It's a little tricky to do. Don't rotate yourself. If you rotate yourself, it won't work quite as well. But rotate the phone and try to keep it, horizontal or, flat. Don't tilt it back and forth. Now, this app does allow you, and in fact, I'll take another picture and we'll see how it works, to paint kind of a larger view. But I found it looked kind of odd when I did it. Maybe I just need to practice more. But a kind of a fun app. Eli, Tucson, Arizona. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Eli.
Hey, Leo. I found it pretty interesting what you had to say about net neutrality earlier.
Yeah, I know it's complicated, but you could see there are two sides to that argument.
Yes, but another thing that I just ran into in the past couple days are insane licensing agreements between content providers and content distributors.
Tell me about that.
About 2 years ago, I bought the first 3 seasons of Star Trek Enterprise on Amazon's video on demand service, and I was deployed to Korea for about a year, so I wasn't able to access it over there. International law.
Oh, that's interesting. So Amazon wouldn't let you watch it there.
Correct. I didn't have a problem with that. The problem I'm having now is that now I'm back stateside and I want to watch it. Apparently, Paramount said, no, you guys don't have the license anymore, so nobody who bought it can watch it unless they had it downloaded previously.
That's appalling. Paramount's, notoriously picky over their Star Trek franchise, and I guess I can understand why. It made them a lot of money. But
and it's a shame, seeing that I'm a diehard fan for it.
Well, and that's, don't get me started. DRM, Digital Rights Management, that's what this is something that any company that creates expensive product like movies, television show, even records, often insists on. It's in the book industry. Audiobooks are copy protected like crazy. Copy protection is a form of digital rights management, but you're encountering kind of another form of digital rights management where it's not only copy protected, but it has a licensing mechanism. And this is why you couldn't watch in Korea. In order to watch it, you have to actually go back and check the license servers. And the license server sends you a token saying, yes, it's okay to play this. So that's why you couldn't play it in Korea, because the licensing server said, wait a minute, his internet address is in Korea. Then Paramount comes along and says, yeah, we don't want you to watch it anymore. So now the licensing server sends back. Yeah, of course you did. But you didn't. And if you look at the agreement carefully, you'll see they've got weasel words in it. You probably didn't buy it outright. You leased it. You rented it. And time's up, dude.
Yep.
Isn't that awful?
It's weird how it's like, and they wonder why people buy used DVDs or download it from torrent sites.
Well, and this is something that I got to keep saying this over and over again. Maybe it'll sink in. I think they're not stupid. I think they even know this. But the truth is, the competition is really the pirated stuff. When you copy protect stuff, all you do is push nice people like Eli, who is serving our nation. He's a Star Trek fan. He paid for the content. And then you say, sorry, you can't have it. All that does is push people like Eli into either learning how to steal it by, copying somebody's DVDs or, downloading it via a BitTorrent site from the Pirate Bay or somewhere like that.
Not that I have now.
Well, you know what? I would forgive. To me, ethically, I think you could. And I think you'd ethically be in the right. Because you paid for it. You never got to see it.
Agreed.
So, let's ask an ethicist. I don't know, but it sounds to me like they owe you one. But what happens now is you learn how to do that. You go, boy, that was easy. And, the quality's pretty good. And I don't have to worry about a licensing server. I can watch it in Korea. Maybe I should do this from now on.
Yep.
So it really breeds exactly what they're trying to fight. It teaches people how to do it. Now, look, Eli, you're a good guy. I consider myself a good guy. I believe in paying for content. Somebody works hard to make something that's really great, and it's fans usually that really, say, I want to pay for this because I love it. But it's often fans that end up getting taken by this because they're the ones who are reluctant to do what the lesser fan is willing to do, which is steal it. Yeah. So it's really the fans that get messed up by this. I know. I think you raise a really, really good point. I really do. This is why copy protection doesn't work.
Yeah, agreed.
I'm sorry, Eli. I don't know. There's literally no solution. If you look at the agreement, I'm sure it says somewhere in there. There's some lawyer words that say.
I looked at it, and it does say that the licensing can go at any time, and we don't.
No guarantees.
Like, awesome.
Yeah, isn't that nice? Something to remember: anytime you're buying protected content, you're playing it at the on the allowance of the company that owns it, and at any point they could say, never mind. Never mind. It's really terrible.
Well, that's all I had. Thanks a lot, Leo.
Sure. Thank you, Eli. And you see, I admire him because the temptation, and in fact, I think you would feel in the right doing this, is to go out and say, well, I bought it. I never got to see it. I'm going to go get it. And they've been shutting down the Department of Homeland Security. I don't know how this has to do with Homeland Security, but apparently the Department of Homeland Security has decided that pirate sites are a threat to our security, and they've been shutting them down. They shut about 20 down last week. They don't really shut them down, by the way. The sites continue on. All they do is block your access to them. They hide them, in effect. If you knew where the site was, you could go get it. It's just that the DNS entry no longer works. You can't look it up in the global phone book. That's all they've done. The site's still there, still operating. If you knew the address, you could go right to it. Outside the U.S., you can go right to it. I feel much more safe and secure knowing that the terrorists can no longer pirate music or something. I'm really not sure I understand exactly why this is part of the Department of Homeland Security. In my opinion, all it succeeds in doing is teaching people to steal. It doesn't prevent piracy. It doesn't shut this stuff down. And really, it's frankly our federal government doing the bidding of the recording industry and of the motion picture industry. That's all. They paid for the politicians. They get what they want. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. And yet, folks, you got to pay for your content. You got to pay for it, or we won't get any. Nobody will write a book or make a movie or write a play if they don't can't make a living at it. So we have to find a solution. We really do. I think we're paying more for content than we ever have before, don't you? I certainly do. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Dick DiBartolo, he travels a lot, like SeatGuru.com. I'm on SeatExpert.com. Before I book on a flight, I like to see where my seat is. And at SeatExpert.com, I'm actually looking at the map of this particular plane that I am on. In this case, a 747. And it'll say things like, oh, you don't want this one, reduce storage space. Oh, I don't want that one, heavy traffic area. It actually tells you things. So you can say, I think I'll be on this one. Increased legroom and layout allows easy aisle access.
No, that's very good. That's very
cool?
good. Yeah, some seats will say you can hear the toilet flush.
Yeah, you don't want that.
Right behind you, so you know you don't want.
This is like 13A on this plane. Heavy traffic area, close to restrooms, obstructed window view. Not good. You don't want that one.
Yeah.
Hey, that guy right there, that's Dick DiBartolo. He's Mad Magazine's maddest writer. And the Gizwiz. He does a daily podcast with me called The Daily Gizwiz. It's a kind of clever name.
Oh, it's amazing. You came up with that.
Yeah. Let's see. It's every day, and you're the Gizwiz. So what if we call it the Weekly Gizwiz? And then it was you who said, well, you know.
Yeah, I guess I did. I jumped in and said, Leo, that's a really, really great title. But if we just modified it a touch to daily, and then you thought about it, then you called Jen. And Jen
I had
said,
asked my wife,
Yeah,
because before I do anything, I ask my wife.
Go with what Dick said.
That's how I've been married 20 years. You ask your wife. And when the other one is, when she asks you, you say, yes, dear. Yes, dear. Dick
I say that to you all the time.
Yes, dear. No, you don't. So Dick joins us every week at this time to talk a little bit about some funky gadget. Are you going to go to, next month is CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. You going to be out there for that?
Yes, dear.
Me too.
Yeah, no, we're doing, we already made a plan. We're doing some Gizwizzes at Showstoppers.
Oh.
I'll find gadgets, and then you'll run over for, 10
with the camera,
minutes.
and we'll do that. And then let's do the radio show. I'm going to do the radio show from CES. This is the Consumer Electronics Show is once a year in Las Vegas. Huge. And it's funny. It's where they show stuff that's going to be out usually not next month, but later in the year. For instance, that Pan Digital that I just panned last hour, saw that at CES in January, and it finally came out around November. So sometimes it never comes out. You see stuff that never comes out.
That is correct. But you want to know something, Leo?
What?
I have a Pan Digital, and I use it.
You like
as
the
my
frame?
Video. I use it as a video player.
Oh.
The ebook reader has an SD card slot, and I copied dozens of movies to it, and then I just use it as a 7-inch video player down at the boat.
It isn't a capacitance screen; it's a resistance screen, I think. So you have to use a stylus.
Yes. Or you have to hit it hard. It's not glamorous like the iPhone.
You have to hit it hard.
Yeah, it tells you in the book, like, more use your nail than your finger.
That's something. If you're going to get a tablet or even a smartphone, folks, ask. It's very simple. Capacitance screen. That's what you want. That's what all the good ones are. Resistive is the old form of touchscreen, not so good.
Yeah. Well, you run that website, Pad Guru, where it tells you where exactly.
You should. That's a good idea. So what do you got for us this week?
I have a real quickie. It's an update of, and especially with Christmas coming, it's the update of the Open It, which is the way to open Christmas gifts, get Christmas gifts ready to be played with, because it almost looks like a pair of gardening shears, so it can cut through wires. These days things are wired in place. Then if it's a kid's toy, the battery compartment is screwed closed. So one arm of this device has a little screwdriver in it, so you can open the battery compartment. There's a slide-out box cutter, so you can cut through cellophane and shipping labels. The cutting edge head is on an angle, so that as you cut through thick plastic, the plastic doesn't come at you and cut your fingers. Sells for anywhere from $11 to $13. And if you don't need, and they added a bottle opener. I don't know why I need a bottle opener, but the new 5-in-1 has a bottle opener, but the old 4-in-1, you can normally get them at discounts. It's a little clunkier. The screwdriver is not as convenient, but either model is very good. The old one is called the Open It 4-in-1, and the new model is the Open It 5-in-1 and all over the place on Amazon.com.
Must have for this holiday season.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Actually, it is a good stocking stuffer.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Then give
Open
your
it first.
Yeah, give him that, and then give him a bunch of stuff in blister packs. And say, see.
Wrap it up in scotch. Lots of tape. Now let's see you.
Dick's website is gizwiz.biz. That's where you can play the What the Heck Is It contest, a close-up picture of a gadget or gizmo. And if you get it right, or if you come up with the most creative answer, he gives away 36 Mad magazines every time. Gizwiz.biz. Thank you, Dick.
Thank you, and I'll see you shortly.
Yeah, because we're going to do our show in a little bit.
Yeah.
So don't go anywhere. You stay right there. Did you, Kyle, want me to do anything here at all? A billboard, an ad, anything at all? Just anything at all?
You're good to go, Leo.
I'm good to go? Okay, well, in that case, let me take another call. Grant, Los Angeles, Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Grant.
Leo, thank you for taking my call.
Of course. I think you might be the last one of the day.
Well, I know you're running out of time here, so I'll make it quick. I've learned a lot from your program. I appreciate it. So,
thank you, Grant.
I just picked up a new MacBook Pro 13-inch. Haven't used it at all, but I'm planning on using it a lot. So I'm a professional photographer, and I mostly film shooter up until fairly recently. I had an earlier MacBook, which has kind of run out of steam on me, so I'm interested in upgrading the MacBook with the hard drive and the RAM.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll take 8 gigs of RAM, which I'm prepared to put in.
You use Final Cut?
No, I'm a still shooter.
You're going to use Adobe Photoshop?
I got I have CS5, which I haven't installed yet.
Yeah, Photoshop likes a lot of RAM. 8's a lot. I mean, 8's a ton. You probably get by with 4.
I have some big files. So.
Oh, yeah, if they're big, you're shooting 21 megapixels or more, that really can add up. And Photoshop, of course, with every scratch file, with every layer, adds, a multiple of that. So, yeah, more RAM's good.
Like I have a professional printer who does like 4 foot by 5 foot high-res prints for me, and they're 500 megabyte files usually. So
yeah, more memory is good.
But the issue that I'm a little vague on is the hard drive. So it came with a 250 gig hard drive, and everybody's been talking about, especially for heavy Photoshop use, people seem to favor the solid state drives.
Yeah, makes a big difference with anything that hits the drive hard. It makes a huge difference. For instance, boot times become seconds. My MacBook Air boots in 15 seconds. Application launches, and the Air does not have a fast processor. The application launches are literally less than a bounce. That's how we Mac people measure launch time, is how many times the icon bounces in the dock. I mean, it's literally less than a second to launch an application. And all of that is because nowadays the processors, even the slowest processors, are usually pretty fast. It's the hard drive they spend a lot of time waiting for, and a solid-state drive has zero access time. You don't have to search for the data. And the reads are quite fast. Writes are pretty fast as well. Here's the negative on solid-state. The capacities are much lower, and the costs are much higher. The cost per gigabyte is much, much higher.
Sure. Now, there's some of the more conservative people I know kind of questioning the reliability of the solid-state drive?
No, wouldn't worry about that. I think the reliability now is very good. The drives do some very interesting tricks to keep themselves from wearing out. The ideal situation, if you were using a desktop, would be have a boot drive and an application drive that were a solid state, and then mechanical drives, spinning, the normal spinning drives for data storage, because they're a lot cheaper.
Be doing early next year when I get some more money.
And even on a laptop, it's not a bad idea. What I do on the MacBook Air, I only have 64 gigs in there, is I have Lightroom on there, and I don't have Photoshop, but I use Lightroom on there, and I use an external drive for all the storage.
That's what I do.
Yeah. So then in that case, a solid-state drive makes a lot of sense.
Okay. I basically use my laptop just for working on stuff, and then as soon as, like with photographs, as soon as the photographs are done, they get
you move it right off. So the smaller storage won't bother you. The cost per gigabyte, you're a pro. This is one of your primary tools, so you're going to spend some money. You're willing to spend money. I think a solid-state drive makes a huge difference. Highly recommend them. I use a Corsair on my MacBook Pro, and it's a fantastic thing. If you can find one with the SandForce controller, that's the one you want to use. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Oh, I'm out of time. That's it. That's the end of the show. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye.